Hey guys, welcome to Tuesday Talks. I'm Connor.
I'm Jono.
And I'm Joe.
Today we'll be talking about Pastor Ellis' sermon out of Luke 4, titled Unexpected Jesus. He talked about three kind of approaches Jesus had to ministry over the years, really on his first day, but it was relationship before recognition, solitude before success, and purpose before popularity. So our first question for the day is, how will you emulate Jesus' approach to his first day of ministry in your personal ministry as you continue to seek for and pray for the one in your life?
Yeah, absolutely. And with the story he brought up, where on his first day, this man comes out and just like immediately goes straight to the point of saying like, you are the Son of God. I know exactly this. And like Jesus shies away from that. That's not the point. That taking that approach is you can use the same thing when you interact with other people. And so when you go and you're like, man, I want this person to get more engaged with the community, more engaged with the church, instead of jumping straight from, hi, I just met you, come to my church, you can go, hi, I just met you. I want to know you. Let's grab some food, some dinner, and let's figure out who you are. And then slowly over time, you build up that relationship, and you bring them more and more into the church. And so you can't get from point A to point B that quickly. And so expanding that time and enjoying a relationship with this other person is way more fruitful, way more worthwhile.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I agree. It's the concept is like less me, more them. So try to get to know them as a person.
Yeah.
And when you get to know someone as a person and you care about who they are, then they tend to care about who you are. It's the concept of Christ loved us first, and so now we love Christ. We're supposed to emulate Christ to others, so we have to love them first if we expect them to love Christ.
Yeah. And that's the humanity of it too, is we want relationships, right? Like a life where you're just like trying to check off a list of, yep, I got this person in, I got this person in, and it's a numbers game. That can't be worthwhile at all. There's no joy in that.
Yeah, that gets super depressing super quickly, because if you're just going out and asking people left and right, hey, you want to come to my church, and you keep getting shot down because you're not investing in these people, that feels really bad.
Yeah.
And to talk about your point, it's kind of a two-way street. Yeah, it's absolutely, because as you get to know someone and they start to realize who you are, even if they aren't interested in coming to church, they're going to see that there's something different about the way you live, the way you love, the way you act, and the principles you follow. And there is something magnetic about that.
Yeah.
About following Christ and emulating Christ and just living and leading a biblical Christ-like lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that can often be more of a draw than anything you might ever say to them to get them into the church. So,
Yeah, no kidding.
Our next question is, which of these three approaches do you typically struggle with the most?
Yeah, I would say, and he brought it up in the point in the sermon, is that rejection is a really hard one that people struggle with. And I actually do struggle with that. I wonder, hey, if I ask this person to church, are they going to judge me for, one, being a Christian, but two, will I lose maybe a friendship over this? And will it take steps backwards? And there's a lot of fear that isn't necessary. It's more anxiety a little bit and other emotions at large. But that's one that I struggle with, and I have to fight past and kind of rely on God a little bit to like push me through and say, hey, why don't you come to this event that my church is hosting, or why don't you come to church? That is something that is somewhat difficult for me.
Yeah, I'm not on that boat. I struggle more with, I would say, the relationship side of it. Personally, I don't need recognition, or recognition is the word he used. I don't need that. But I also, I don't seem to make time for relationships. So I would say that's where I struggle. I have no problem inviting people to church if I know them. Most of the people I know or come to know either have a church or go to this church. So that's not a huge issue for me. My brain is just naturally like, I am who I am. And if I go to Chapel Hill and I want to invite people to come here, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
There's no like fear of rejection. If they say no, I'm like, cool. Like, all right, it doesn't affect anything for me. It doesn't change the way I treat them or how I see them, because in my brain, they're my friend. So if I invite them and they say no, they're still my friend. It's not like I'm only using them to get them to go to church. But definitely forming relationships with people is something that I spend a lot of time working, and not so much time with people.
Yeah, I
as
get that.
you guys see probably. And it's something I have to be really intent about, would be forming relationships.
Yeah. It's a skill like everything else.
Yeah.
Like fighting that rejection, building relationships. It's a muscle you got to build and train over time. And I think that's the best way to put it is you learn it over time.
Yeah, absolutely. And while I do struggle a bit with the fear of rejection, as you know, you approach somebody and ask them, hey, do you want to come to this event, or do you know Jesus? All the things that you might ask somebody. The one I struggle with the most, kind of ironically, given what I talked about, I think a week or two ago, is solitude before success. While I have no problem unplugging to like recenter and de-stress, it's very difficult for me to walk away from people that I'm friends with that maybe might not be the best influence on me, or maybe just aren't good for me. People that I'm loved by, well liked by, but they just aren't a good influence in my life. I value those people, that validation, so much that it's very difficult for me to just be like, you know what, I need to step not completely away from this relationship, but I need to step it back. I need to put some barriers, some thresholds up. That gets very difficult for me.
Interesting. Yeah. I think we've covered all bases then, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's a quick breakdown of the sermon.
Yeah, wrapping up. That was kind of a kind of what we all struggle with, and what we need to individually pray on and work on in our lives to really fully emulate Jesus' approach to ministry. Jesus' first day of ministry was obviously a huge, phenomenal success, but he dealt with his fair share of troubles too, just as we do when we step out for the first time or the 500th time into ministry asking somebody out. It's not easy. It never gets easy, but we all have to lean on God for one thing or another, and, the Spirit works.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, I heard so many instances today where the Spirit was just working in crazy ways, and like pushing more people to come to church, and He's working there. And luckily for us, we're dependent on that. We're not in control of that, and so if we lose our footing a little bit, God will still be working, and there will still be people pushing towards the church.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that's all for today.
Yeah, awesome.
Thanks for watching. It's been great, and I will see you guys next week.
Yeah, take care.